Just days after settling into civilian life, Trey Gowdy was already dragged into a nasty political fight. It's hard to get away. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren accused the former congressman of trying to enrich himself as a lobbyist for starting a new job as a white-collar crime attorney. That's part of the business that they'll be doing in his home state. Warren tweeted, quote, "Gowdy foamed at the mouth with power in Congress and then retired because he claimed he didn't enjoy it. Now it's clear Trey Gowdy just wanted a fat lobbyist paycheck. That should be illegal." Here now exclusively, Trey Gowdy, former House Oversight Committee chairman, now a partner at Nelson Mullins Law Firm in South Carolina, joins me now. Good to see you, Mr. Gowdy. Thank you for being here tonight.
You too.
So you reacted to that on Twitter. Let's pull up what your reaction was to Elizabeth Warren. You said, "I'm not lobbying, not now or ever. Perhaps you were cracking open a beer when that was announced. Don't mind your criticisms. Just be more sensitive to the facts." Your thoughts, sir?
Well, there are a million things that you can legitimately criticize me for. And if she's struggling to come up with a list, my wife is happy to help. But I'm not a lobbyist. I'm not going to be a fat lobbyist. I'm not going to be a skinny lobbyist, a plus-size one. I'm not lobbying at all. And that's a factual matter. All she had to do, if she really wanted to know, she could have called me. Most of her Senate colleagues have my cell phone number. She could say, "Hey, what are you gonna do? I'm getting ready to criticize you. I need to decide which thing to criticize you for." She just happened to stumble upon the one thing that is demonstrably and factually untrue, and it does make me wonder. I don't mind the criticisms. Actually, being criticized by Elizabeth Warren helps me in South Carolina. What I do mind, and what several of my Democrat colleagues correctly pointed out over the weekend, if you're going to criticize the president and other people for being loose with the facts, don't be loose with the facts yourself. She's running for president of the United States, and she kicks it off by making a demonstrably false allegation against a former colleague. I don't get it.
Here's the beer video, which I guess is what prompted that part of your tweet. Watch this.
Hold on a sec. I'm going to get me a beer. Hey, Robert, my husband Bruce is now in here. You want a beer?
No, I'll pass on the beer for now.
I'm going to pull out a stool and sit down.
I don't know. We just played it because you mentioned it in your tweet and because it's hilarious. I mean, why?
It sounded so natural. I was just struck by the authenticity and the naturalness of that. Wow.
I mean, she says she drinks beer all the time, but I don't think she's probably not as Instagram savvy, perhaps, as some, but maybe she'll work on that as she moves forward in this. I want to get your thoughts on the border wall controversy, because from a legal perspective, we talked to Judge Napolitano before. Does the president have any legal right to declare a national emergency when it comes to the border?
Boy, the president has broad legal rights when it comes to national emergencies. I don't think that's the route he's going to go. I think he's looking for a willing negotiating partner. And Martha, when the folks across the table think that ICE should be disbanded and the Border Patrol gasses with intent children and any physical boundary is nativist and racist, that's a tough bargaining position if that's who's across the table. So I think he's looking for leverage. I was with Lindsey Graham a lot yesterday, and one thing I hope my Republican colleagues, former colleagues, the point they'll make is lots of Democrat senators voted for physical boundary funding in the past. What changed? I mean, are the cartels no longer an issue? Is the drug epidemic over? Is no one showing up at the border? Why did you vote for it in the past? But now you think it is nativist and xenophobic. And I have yet to hear a Democrat answer that question with conviction.
Here's Lindsey Graham on Face the Nation. Watch this.
We're having to negotiate with people who want to abolish ICE, not support ICE. We're having to negotiate with people who see the Border Patrol agents gassing children rather than defending our borders as professional law enforcement officers. And we're negotiating with people who will give us $1 for the wall, even though it's immoral, and accuse all of us who support a wall as part of border security as racist. As long as the radical left is in charge, we're never going to get anywhere. The president will compromise, but he will not capitulate.
Where do you see this going?
I don't see how it. I mean, the Democrats have said they're not going to spend $1, not $1 on a physical boundary, and I don't think President Trump and Mulvaney and my Republican former colleagues, I don't think that they're going to capitulate, to use Lindsey's word, and pass an appropriations bill that doesn't have funding for it. So that gets me back to, if you thought it was a good idea in the past, if you voted to fund it in the past, what has changed? In the court of public opinion, which is where this will be settled, I think my fellow citizens are open to, well, if you liked it in the past, why don't you like it now? And what metric is different? And I don't think anyone's going to argue that the border is more secure and better off and that we have fewer problems and fewer enemies than we did when the Democrats voted to fund the wall in the past.
I want to ask you about Mick Mulvaney from your home state of South Carolina. There's a story floating around that he, as recently as the end of the year, just a few weeks ago, was talking to somebody about potentially becoming the president of the University of South Carolina. Is that true?
Well, let me say two things. I think Mick would be fantastic in a college setting. Mick's three best friends in politics are Tim Scott, Lindsey Graham, and Trey Gowdy. And we're all three native South Carolinians. So if you want to be the president of the University of South Carolina, don't you think you would have reached out to one of those three and said, hey, can you help? He didn't call Timmy, he didn't call Lindsey, and he had to talk to me. So I don't know where the reporting is coming from. Mick would be great. But the notion that Mick is trying to get out of his current job to go be a college president, why not ask two U.S. senators who could actually help you? And he hadn't done it.
Maybe you want the job.
I am not qualified to be. I barely got in college. I can't run one.
All right. Congressman Trey Gowdy, thank you very much, sir. Good to see you tonight.
Yes, ma'am.